You've probably met someone like this. Always composed, always smiling. The one who says, "I'm fine," even when their world is falling apart. They make jokes when they're hurting. They help others while quietly breaking inside. These people rarely cry in front of anyone. They learn to swallow emotions before they ever learned how to name them. Their silence isn't peace. It's protection. Because somewhere along the way they realized no one comes when they fall apart. Strong people aren't born that way. They're made, forged by moments when crying didn't help, when asking for help led to disappointment, when love felt conditional. So they built walls made of smiles. They wear resilience like armor, and the world claps, calling them so strong, never realizing that what they're applauding is survival, not serenity. And if you look close enough, you'll notice it. That flicker behind the smile, that small pause before they say, "I'm okay." It's the sound of someone holding themselves together because they believe no one else will. Strength for many isn't a choice. It's a learned reflex. Somewhere in childhood they got the message, you can't depend on anyone. Maybe their parents were too busy, too broken, or simply emotionally unavailable. So they adapted. They became their own caretaker, their own comfort, their own safe place. At first, that independence feels empowering. They handle everything. The work, the crises, the pain. But deep down, it's not freedom. It's isolation disguised as control. Because needing nothing from anyone becomes the only way to avoid being disappointed again. Psychologists call this a form of defensive independence. It's not about confidence, it's about survival. The mask of strength keeps them from collapsing, but it also keeps love out. They convince themselves they're fine alone, but at night, when everything quiets down, the truth echoes back. I wish someone would just stay. Being strong became their identity. But under that identity lies exhaustion, the kind that doesn't show on the face, only in the eyes. Every strong person was once a child who felt unsafe being soft. Maybe they were told to stop crying. Maybe their pain was minimized. You're fine, it's not that bad. Or maybe they had to grow up too soon, taking care of others while no one took care of them. That child learned that love comes with conditions. That affection must be earned through good behavior, achievement, or silence. So they stopped expecting gentleness. They built themselves into the caretaker, the overachiever, the one who never needs. Years later, that pattern becomes invisible armor. They don't know how to ask for help because no one ever taught them it was safe to. Vulnerability feels dangerous, like walking barefoot through broken glass, so they avoid it until the loneliness becomes unbearable. Behind every strong adult is a child who once whispered, "If I don't hold it all together, everything will fall apart." And that belief still runs the show, quietly, relentlessly. This is what psychology calls the false self, a carefully constructed version of you that exists to keep you safe. The false self smiles when the real self wants to cry. It helps others to avoid being helped. It gives endlessly to avoid being seen. It's not pride. It's protection. Because when you've spent your whole life being strong, weakness feels like danger. Vulnerability feels like exposure. So you live behind a version of yourself that looks functional, confident, and calm, while inside, your heart aches for someone who sees beyond the act. But here's the truth. The strong person act isn't strength. It's fear wearing a brave face. It's what happens when your nervous system learned early that softness equals pain. You become the protector, the rock, the one everyone leans on, all while quietly wondering who you can lean on too. No one talks about how tiring strength can be. The kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from lack of sleep, but from holding yourself up for years. It's the fatigue of pretending everything's fine, of always being the reliable one, the strong friend. It's the invisible burnout of carrying unspoken pain. You function, you achieve, you show up, and yet you feel hollow. Nights stretch long because silence is dangerous. It gives space for thoughts you try to outrun. You tell yourself you can handle it. You always have. But there's a whisper inside that says, I don't want to be strong anymore. That whisper isn't weakness. It's truth, finally asking to breathe. For many strong people, the biggest fear isn't failure. It's falling apart. What if I cry and never stop? What if I ask for help and no one comes? That fear keeps them trapped in perfection, in composure, in control. They manage every detail because chaos reminds them of the times when life felt unpredictable, unsafe. But emotions don't disappear because you ignore them. They wait. They pile up. And one day, something small, a comment, a memory, a song, cracks the armor. Suddenly, all that pain you thought you'd buried is right there, raw and loud. You're not breaking down. You're breaking open. Independence is beautiful until it becomes a prison. The strong person prides themselves on never needing help. But that same pride often hides a deep fear. If I depend on someone, they'll leave. So they keep their walls high and their words few. They survive on self-sufficiency, mistaking loneliness for strength. But strength without connection is emptiness. Being self-reliant keeps you safe, but it also keeps you unseen. And that's the cruel paradox. You long for understanding, but you don't let anyone close enough to give it. Sometimes strength turns into escape. They work too much, help too much, stay busy, anything to avoid stillness. Because when you stop moving, you start feeling. And for people who've survived pain by staying in motion, slowing down feels terrifying. Overgiving, overworking, overthinking. They're not flaws. They're coping mechanisms. You become addicted to being useful because that's the only time you feel worthy. But busyness isn't healing. It's hiding. Eventually, the body starts to speak. Sleepless nights, tension headaches, anxiety that doesn't go away. The body becomes the voice for what the heart has silenced. It's the body saying, you can't keep carrying this alone. Psychologists call this somatization, when emotional pain turns physical. It's not in your head. It's in your cells, your breath, your heartbeat. The body keeps the score, as one famous book says. And when your soul has been strong for too long, your body will do what your mouth won't. It will ask for rest. But there's a moment, often small, often quiet, when awareness begins. When you finally see that the strength that once saved you is now suffocating you, it's the moment you realize that being strong doesn't mean never falling apart. It means letting yourself be human, even when it's uncomfortable. Healing begins when you stop wearing strength as a mask and start using it as a bridge, a way to reach yourself again. Real strength isn't endurance. It's gentleness. It's saying, I'm tired, and letting that be enough. Healing starts in the mirror. When you look at yourself, truly look, and say, you don't have to be strong all the time. It's in forgiving yourself for all the times you ignored your own needs just to keep others comfortable. It's in learning that it's okay to ask for help, to rest, to not have it all together. Because strength without softness is just tension. You are allowed to be both strong and soft, both brave and broken. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your truth. And somewhere along the way, you will realize that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's courage in its purest form. The moment you say, I can't do this alone, is the moment you stop pretending and start healing. Because being vulnerable doesn't make you fragile. It makes you real. It makes you reachable. It lets love in. After years of carrying the world, you finally come home to yourself. You start choosing peace over performance, stillness over chaos. You begin to see that your worth was never measured by how much you could handle. It was always in your being, not your doing. You stop running from yourself and start sitting with your truth, even the messy parts, especially the messy parts. The pattern can end. The story can change. The strength that was once a shield can become your softness. You can stop performing survival and start living presence. The part of you that learned to carry everything doesn't have to keep carrying it forever. You can put it down. You can breathe. You can rest. What was once survival can now become peace. And when that happens, something shifts, quietly but powerfully. You remember the child who once tried so hard to be brave. You reach out to them, not with judgment, but with tenderness. You tell them they did enough, that it's safe to stop now. You let them cry. You let them exist. And in doing so, you free yourself too. The people who carry the most often carry the deepest love. The ones who look the strongest are usually the ones who needed love the most. So if you spent your whole life pretending to be okay, please hear this. You don't have to keep performing strength. You deserve to be held. You deserve to be seen. And you deserve to rest. Because maybe real strength isn't never breaking. Maybe it's breaking open and choosing to heal anyway.